What's up guys, welcome back to another loadout based building video, but this one's going to have a little bit of a twist because I'm going to actually talk through it as if you're building your first CS2 loadout. If you're not building your first CS2 loadout, don't worry, I'll have timestamps down below. There's still some things I'm going to discuss I think you should be following, and it's essentially just a guide of how you should be building your CS2 loadout. Now, this is going live on Christmas Day, so if you're celebrating it, Merry Christmas, have a good one, Happy Holidays. If you're watching it down the line, obviously it's not Christmas, but I hope you're doing well. No ads in this one, we're going to get straight into it. The first thing for me here is ultimately obviously deciding your budget. That's kind of like answers some of the questions for you already on whether or not you're going to be going for a combination, like a knife and glove combo, for example. So first step is basically figure out what is your budget you're going to spend, and then you can go from there. Then, once you have your budget in mind, it's a conversation of whether or not you want to force a knife and glove combination or not. Obviously, if you're on a $200 budget, that combo is going to eat all of the budget, whereas if you're on $600, you might want to assign $200 to $300 to a knife and glove combo, maybe even $500, and that kind of thing. The third element I have is whether or not you want to go for a theme or not. Now, a theme CS loadout is what I focus on a lot of my videos, and it can often look really nice because it's just like coordinated, the vibes there, it's cool. But you don't have to theme it. I don't feel like you have to. So essentially, once you have those three things figured out, you can go from there. Now, before I get into how you should split the budget, just please keep in mind, when I get into the example loadouts later, all of my pricing comes from third-party sites. Now, I'm not sponsored by any of those third-party sites in this video, so I'll link a handful of them down below, of the ones I think are the most reliable to go and check out. The reason you would use a third-party site is because it is considerably cheaper than buying on the Steam market. If you're a little bit worried about using a third-party site and you're on a relatively low budget, then using Steam is fine. Like, you'll be paying that a little bit more, but say it's like a $10 budget, using Steam is fine. So, on the budget splits, what would I do? Now, no combination, I think you should be spending between 85% to 95% off your budget on your key or main weapon skins, whatever terminology we want to use there. I often call them the key skins. And then with that, it leaves you between 10 to 15% to use on what we often call like the extra skins, the filler skins, the bonus skins. Like the things that it's nice to have, but like really you're not using them every round. And I think that's a pretty good format to follow. Now, in regards to what you would count key and main weapon skins, I'll get onto that in a second. If you are going to have a knife and glove combo, my suggested format to follow is you want to spend 50 to 60% of your budget on your combination. This has room for variance depending on how high the budget is, because obviously you might cap out at some point and want to spend a ton on weapon skins, but overall 50 to 60% is the ideal sweet spot. Then following that, you want to spend 30 to 40% on your main or your key weapon skins, and then that leaves you 5 to 10% of your budget to spend onto these extra buffer filler skins that you will be able to pick up. Now, as I've mentioned already, this is a suggested guide. It's open to variance, and the buffer is there to make it work for you. So for example, right now, I'm not really following my advice because my knife and glove combo is between like 70 to 75% of my budget, but I wanted to get an emerald, and I kind of just made that happen, whereas previously I did follow this quite strictly. And the variance in this sort of ultimately depends on the next stage, which is your CS2 loading weapon choices. Now, we have to say a big thank you to Xerox, because he's the one that's provided today's giveaway, and that's actually an entire loadout. So, for example, it's going to include this M4A4 Edgelord in Battle Scarred with a custom craft. We have a Battle Scarred Starlight Protector in there to get that bronzy sort of gold vibes coming through. It has one of my favorites in the mod spec as well with Souvenir, which is kind of cool. And we got things like the Black Nile with a gold 9 sticker on it. And like the AK in this case is going to be a Souvenir Steel Delta. Now, the total value of this loadout is around $25. So, a big thank you to Xerox for providing it because it is super cool. And one lucky winner is going to walk away with their hopefully their first CS loadout, or at least a nice new CS loadout that they can have and have it in rotation, and obviously is this bronzy brown vibe. Now, if you want to enter this, all you have to do is make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. Let me know your favorite skin from this entire video today. I know it's a long one, there's plenty of nice options in there, but let me know. Good luck to those entering it. Thank you again to Xerox for providing it. I will pick the winner in a few days time, and we'll announce it in the Discord. Let's get back to the video. So I will hopefully have some B-roll playing right now, which takes you through my CT side and my T side loadout. There's nothing too unusual on it. I think one of the more notable things would be that because I don't use the Scout, I don't have it equipped on my CT side, and then I fill that slot like with the FAMAS or the AUG, depending on how you sit. Some people don't like having the AUG equipped, some people don't like having the FAMAS equipped. It's kind of just, that's personal preference. And then on the T side, I think I'm pretty standard across the board. The only question you might have is that I'm running the ZZ, where some people might run dual Berettas. But what you see on screen now is what I've covered this in a previous video. That's what I think right now, meta-wise, you should be running as your like 15 slot loadout for CT and T side. So with that in mind, what do I count as the key weapon skins? Okay. Pistol-wise, it's going to be Glock, USP, and Desert Eagle. That's your starting pistols on each side, and then it's the most commonly bought upgraded pistol that you're going to use in those weird buy rounds that you have. And for the key, that's all you need to focus on. Please note, I recently used the P2000 over the USP, so if you're a P2K enjoyer, you can replace that over the USP. But percentage-wise, most of you guys use USP. Then, there's only 4 other weapons that I count as absolute key. That's the M4A1S, the M4A4, the AK-47, of course, and then the AWP. However, I want to put an asterisk on the AWP because that depends on whether or not you do AWP. So I'm not the AWPer in our team. There's a couple of maps I secondary AWP, and maybe when I'm pugging, I'll pull it out here and there for fun. But ultimately, I am not an AWP player. I'm not going to get the AWP out myself a lot. If anything, I'm picking it up off the ground and then taking it into the next round. So in the past, I would overspend on the AWP massively, whereas now, in my roughly, say, $2,500 loadout, previously I'd spend $100 plus on an AWP, whereas this time, I bought a Mortis with a dig hollow on the scope, and then I unboxed a Battle Scar Ethereum. So it's like probably $20 to $25 worth of AWP skins in that loadout. So it's like 1%. So the AWP is very much up to you. I know a lot of you guys probably want to have a nice AWP skin, so keep that in the key. I have 3 weapons that sort of sit in the buffer between key and the first layer of bonus skins, and this is where it's up to you to decide if you want to spend on these or not. Personally, I like to. That's the MP9, the MAC-10, and the P250. The reason for the first 2 is it's the SMGs you're going to use in low buys. Now, I personally, as an IGL, I find myself using the MP9 and the MAC-10 a considerable amount, so I want to have a nice skin on it when I'm using it. And then the P250 is like, it's on both CT and T side, and if you don't have enough money for a Deagle, but you want to get an upgraded pistol, it's probably going to be a P250. So I think it's justified to be a more like key weapon. And then the bonus skins is quite an amount, but there's like basically the first layer of bonus skins that I would then focus on myself would be your FAMAS, if you have it equipped, which I think you should. You have the Gail, which if you're like, you will find yourself, I think in the current state of MR12, you'll find yourself using the Gail a couple of times per game. The Scout is there, even though I don't use it on one side, I still think it's worth putting the money into. And then you have 5.7, Tech 9 Julies, and then the XM if you are a shotgun enjoyer. Then you kind of have the rest, which obviously is in this smaller percentage of what you should be spending, so you can kind of do what you like in that range. But that's the budget split suggestions, and that's what I would count weapon-wise into those weapon splits. So hopefully that gives you some clarity on like where and how you should be utilizing your budget to kind of like maximize things and get the best value for money possible. And then I want to very quickly sort of cover agent skins. Recently, the pricing for these has become a bit of a nightmare, so I don't always focus them on like my recent loadout build videos. If I can get them in for a reasonable amount, I do, and they can be very cool. Like I'm not playing any league matches right now. I've been enjoying playing Faceit with like my T agent who's got like gold jewelry, accessories, got tattoos down the arm. It adds an extra layer to like my black and green and gold T-side loadout. It looks cool. One thing to note though, which is why I didn't care for agent skins for so long, is if you're planning to play league matches and tournaments, or more commonly referred to as officials in Counter-Strike, custom agents are flat out banned. So like you have to use the default agents, which means your default CT guy is going to have the blue sleeve showing. Your default T guy has no sleeves at all, but there's no like jewelry, there's no tattoos or anything. It's fully plain. So if that's what you're going to spend most of your time playing CS doing, then I would recommend either not buying them or just buying some very cheap agents. When you are playing Faceit, Premier, Deathmatch, Retakes, whatever, you can mix it up a little bit. Now, overall, it depends on the budget that you want to commit here, but I would suggest focusing on weapon skins and combos before you even consider spending big on agents. It is very nice, because to be honest, there's not many combos where the agent actually pairs in like a tremendous amount, but it's cool when you can do it. And ultimately, I would say it's more important to have like sleeveless agents that don't clash with your knife and glove combo and your skins if you are pairing them all together, because then it just keeps it sort of like uniform. Now, the final layer I have here before I dive in further into some loadout options for you is going to be the crafts. Now, this should probably have a video of itself. I know there's other creators out there that have covered like sort of more insight into crafting, how much you should spend, stuff like that. And I think this year, especially it got a lot more interesting, because previously you could only put 4 stickers on a weapon and there was no, it was like the 4 preset slots that Valve decided. This year they added a 5th slot, and they also added custom placing, so you can add 5 stickers with full custom placing within reason on your weapons, which means the ability to create a unique craft and do something custom is so much higher than it was before. And this makes it even better, because ultimately adding craft to your weapon add a layer of personality. You can put your favorite team, your favorite player, you can make sure it's pairing really perfectly with the color palette on the skin, or you can just slap on some goofy meme shit if you want to. But the one thing I would say here is I would focus the budget on locking down your core loadout and then think about crafts. You might want to change your loadout quicker than you think when you're planning it. I'm a prime example for this, for how much I changed my loadout. So you don't want to overspend on crafts here, especially if you're crafting them from scratch, because you'll often find yourself losing out on money. I think the variance here is if you're using a third-party marketplace like a CS2, a Skinport, a GamerPay, any of the ones I've linked down below, you will often find people who have done crafts will sell their skins with a sticker price value on top. Now, this should be between 5 and 10% as the general guide. However, some people will be asking for organs and an extra limb for their overpay. That's, again, why we probably need a full dedicated video on it, but hopefully that covers the craft side of things enough. Now, I think I've covered all the points I wanted to sort of give you a insight into building your first CS2 loadout. So now what I want to do, and I'll have them all timestamped down below, I want to build 4 different loadout examples for you guys, so you can get a bit of an idea of how you'd actually split this budget and build out your own loadout moving forward. So guys, if you had that $25 to $50 budget, obviously you're not going to get the emerald, but I have removed my Nox gloves, so you have the default gloves here for the showcase, and just to be as accurate as possible. Now, for the USP, I would suggest you go for something like a Cortex. It's going to be $4 roughly for minimal wear. Incredibly nice artwork, incredibly nice skin. And for this example, I'm not forcing a budget. I'm going to have the Vogue here, $4.40 in minimal wear. Trying to go for clean, nice skins, bit of creativity where we can. The Desert Eagle trigger discipline is another nice pick here. There's a handful of nice budget Desert Eagles in CS2 right now, but this is just over $1 for minimal wear. I like the pink, I like the blue accents. For me, it's a really nice budget pick. When it comes to the AK though, you get a really nice pickup. It's going to be the Ice Cold. Now this is $7.20 in minimal wear, and you'll see here where I'm spending the higher amounts of my budget, and it is going to be the AK. Minimal wear for this, for the price, is incredibly nice, and long term you can do some nice budget to medium sort of range crafts on it. I'm going to spend a little bit more on my M4A1S here. It's going to be a Black Lotus. We are going to get it in field test, which you can grab for just under $9. And it's an incredibly nice skin. Anywhere from Factory New 2 Battle Scar, this looks good. It just changes the hue in it. The closer to Battle Scar you go, the more pinky it gets. I focused the budget on the M4A1S rather than the A4, because that's still probably the most common you'll find, both for like economy and just the meta. But a turban for just over $1 is kind of cool, because obviously it has this new feature of lighting up, so it's kind of a really nice value for money pick. Now, the op pick will start a trend for the op here. You'll see I've went for an Atheris, $5.25 minimal wear. This, the Duality, the Mortis, any of those 3, even the Black Nile, those later options are a bit cheaper. Anything like that, you're absolutely spot on for a budget of this $25 to $50 mark. And that marks the end of like the true key skins. I'll cover those 3 that are in the buffer now. For example, MP9, I think going for a food chain, $3.60. The artwork's incredible, and as I say, with the current economy in the game, you probably will find yourself on an MP9 or a FAMAS a bit more often. We're not as expensive on the Mac 10 side of things, but it is going to be an allure. If you guys are regulars, you know I absolutely love this skin. The fact it's only 64 cents for minimal wear is great. Now, personally, I rock a minimal wear visions, but this is in field test, and it would cost you $2.40. And that is the end of these buffer skins that I'm saying can kind of count as key, depending on how you want to approach it. Now, we've got these sort of buffer extra skins left over, and we don't want to spend too much on them. Still want to have some nice visual picks, so like Flora Carnivores for the Joe Berettas at 37 cent field test. This is a super nice pickup for the budget. We then have a Violent Daimyo for the 5.7, like 24 cent for this, minimal wear. Gets some marks on it, but it's a really nice shade of purple. Like, I love this as a pick. Now, while I didn't theme it, there's certainly a lot of pink and purple coming through here. This is a field test of Chromatic Aberration. You can grab this for under $2, and it's one of the best budget Gale skins in the game flat out. I like the ZX Spectrum as the pick for the FAMAS, because this is a brightness-based skin, so like even if you get it into like well-worn and battle scarred, it'll still look pretty good, and it's just over $1 for field test it. I'm a big fan of the Mag 7 pick, because it is a monster call. This is also field test, so you can see how well it holds up in field test at 32 cent for this. Crazy amount of artwork for the money you're paying. Yo, super easy, cheap and cheerful for the XM. It's going to be a slipstream. Minimal will run you literally 15 cent, like super cheap. Tech 9, you can go for a bamboozle. This still looks good in field test, which means you're talking 34 cent for. This is probably my second favorite Tech 9 skin. For the AUG, I go again cheap and cheerful. 30 cent here for the new Lux trim. It's one of the new skins I'm going to add it into the game recently, but it's now already super budget friendly. And at least you get detailing all over the weapon, which normally you don't actually get with the AUG. I have two more skins. The first one is going to be the SG. It's going to be the Cyberforce. Again, really cheap and budget friendly here. This is 9 cent for the minimal wear. And then we end it off with one of the newer skins as well. It's going to be a field tested rapid transit, which is down now. It's just over $1. Very soon it'll probably drop under the $1 mark, which will be sick for these pickups. So overall, this is a pretty banging loadout you can build. The total cost is $44.50. So I went closer to that $50 range, but if you're only counting those first 7 skins, you're spending like $31.92 as the pricing on those. If you're including those 3 buffer skins, you're spending $38.56, which is what I personally do myself. So you're only really spending $6 of your budget on all those filler skins, and then you're getting this fantastic, nice like loadout across the board. Now, while that first loadout sort of showcases why you don't actually have to spend a crazy amount in Counter-Strike skins to build a good loadout, the next phase of what I wanted to do was build a loadout between $150 and $200. And this time, we actually go for a theme, just to give an example of once you exceed that $50, while you can do a theme below $50, it becomes easier once you sort of stretch over that $100 mark. And it's worth noting, both the previous loadout and this loadout will have gaps for the weapon skins. You might be aware right now that we haven't covered like an MP7. We haven't covered the likes of a UMP, a PP Bison, because I don't think you should be focusing on those on these lower budgets. Now, because we have up to $200 budget, I do want to get some agents this time. So I'm going to go for Special Agent Ava here for the CT side. And this might give away the theme we're going for. $14.50 here. Really nice pickup. Nice blue sleeves, which I can give you some long-term upgrade options. And on the T side, to be honest, cheap and cheerful. To get anything with a significant upgrade, you're talking $20, $30 plus. So my main thing here was, let's just go for something that's not the default. Sleeveless, kind of cool, $3.30. We can slot it in under $20 for both agents. Now, the theme of this loadout is going to be blue, and obviously at $150 to $200, we don't get a knife and glove combo, but you can get a perfectly themed weapon skin loadout, so we're going to kick it off with the blueprint here, which is $8 in minimal wear. On the Glock, you can go for a Bunsen burner. Factory new, this is only just over $1, so it's really nice, still like doesn't break the bank and looks fantastic. It might come as a surprise, but I am actually going to big spend on the Desert Eagle here. This is over $70 to get the Desert Eagle Cobalt Disruption. It looks incredibly good in CS2. But you will use it on both T and CT side. You'll use it quite a bit, so I don't mind this higher spend on it, especially when we extract value elsewhere. For example, the AK Frontside Misty isn't for everyone, but the fact this is under $23 for minimal wear, and here's a new rare inspect animation finally coming through, it looks really nice in game, really nice and bright, and it's like for the price you're paying, it's pretty nice. You also get really nice value picks here with the likes of the Nightmare. This is $16.50 for minimal wear. Again, some scuffs start to come through, but overall, this looks incredibly good when you're using it in game. The color pops. And then I also get the jump to the Emperor in minimal wear here, which is over $31, but it looks fantastically good, and you can see when you're using it with this agent how nice it'll be. Now, I actually continue with the Aetherius once again because it's got this blue base with the green accents, and realistically, it's the only good sort of blue op skin that's going to fit into this budget. And that would mark the end of the 7 key weapon skins. So we've got those 3 other weapons that I think you can consider as key. The first one's going to be the MP9. Unfortunately, there's no budget-friendly blue MP9 in the game right now, so we are going to go for the goo for 75 cent just to fit in and not clash. On the Mac 10, you actually have a couple of options. My pick here is going to be the Lapis Gator, because I think minimal wear, $50 for this is pretty sweet. The alternative would be looking at the Malachite, which is a bit more like cyany bright. And then, honestly, the same sort of color palette as the Aetherius, and also in like a USP Monster mashup, we have the See Later for the P250, which is just over $4 in minimal wear. And then that, for me, as I mentioned, sort of covers the key weapons I think you should be focusing a majority of your budget on. For the sake of this loadout, I've also included the agents in the sort of the key budget because you are getting them to theme in. So we can speedrun the sort of bonus skins. Dual Berettas, we're going to have Cobalt Quartz, Factory New, these are on 15 cents, so we're really not breaking the bank here. We can get a nice 5.7 Monkey Business in here, $2.15, field test it, still looks really good, I love it. We are getting the showcase really nice budget friendly Get Ill skins here. This is a Stone Cold, $3 in minimal wear. It's a very, very nice skin for the price. On the Famous side of things, you can have the pattern-based half-tone wash, so obviously check this in previews or in-game before you pick one up. It's still relatively cheap, but it is pattern-based, and you may find a better pattern. To kind of match the M4A4 vibe, we do have a Mag 7 Justice, which field tested is $1.73. You can jump up to minimal wear, but it's like double the price, and honestly, I think it looks pretty good in field tested as it is. You could have used the same blue XM from before, but I actually prefer going for a Souvenir Vari Camel Blue here. Now, this doesn't have the Souvenir stickers on it, because obviously you can scrape them, but it's only 70 cents in minimal wear, and I really like this shade of blue. We got 4 more here. The Take 9, we're going to go for the Avalanche, $2.50 for this in minimal wear. It's got the blue, the white, the orange accents, comes together really nicely. We don't want to focus too much money into the AUG, however, we can get one that sort of pairs with the Agent sleeves, which is kind of nice. It's the Aristocrat, it's 81 cents minimal wear. Ticks a box for us. Now, for the SG, I actually went for the Halua, which is a pattern-based skin, which has a mix of blue and purple. You don't use the SG much in game. I personally think the blue SGs are a bit lackluster, so overall, I'd go for this. And then the last one, as always, is going to be the Scout. Now, this is 47 cent minimal wear, and this means the total skins cost for getting here for this loadout is $193.87. Now, while this loadout is very nice, I think we could agree there's one thing missing, and it is a nice pair of gloves and then a knife just to have that extra flair. So what we're going to do for that $400 to $500 loadout is we're actually going to keep all of the same weapon skins, and we're just going to take this $300 budget, and we're going to get a knife and glove combo. So with that in mind, here is the combination for the knife and glove that I would suggest, and you can see here it's going to be some Moto Gloves Polygon. They are field tested, and they'll run you about $170. And then I think knife-wise, you basically want to pair it with a blue steel. Now, the one that fits in the budget really nicely, that I actually think has a cool blade, it's got some nice animations, like it's got a rare draw animation, and a rare inspect, all that goodness, is the Survival, $125 minimal wear. It means this combo is $295, and it means that the total loadout cost then becomes $488. And why I wanted to showcase it this way is because it goes to show that obviously if you're getting into CS, you might only start with $50 and you just pick up some skins you like. Then you might decide you want to theme it. You spend $100 to $150, $200 picking up the weapon skins that you like. But you can do that keeping in mind of what then you'd want to do long term for your knife and glove combination. So there's different layers of how you can build this loadout, different ways you can approach it. And this is probably a really nice sort of step-by-step version of it. Now, what about if you had a $750 to $1,000 budget and you wanted to actually go all in on a theme with like S tier everything where possible? Now, for this example, I am going to max out that end of the budget. I'm going to aim for the $1,000 because we're going to spend about 60%, just over 60% of the budget on the knife and glove combo you see here. It is Omega Sports Gloves, which are about $415 in field test, which is what I picked here. And then we have a Huntsman Knife Lure, which is a minimal wear. It will run you just over $200. Combo cost wise at the time of planning, this is $620. So if we're talking a $1,000 budget, this is 62%. So 2% over what I suggest the absolute maximum be for the knife and glove combo. And that's where I say there's always this bit of variance split available. Now, for this loadout here, I'm actually going to have every single weapon that we have in the loadout have a skin. And we also have agents again. On the CT side, I'm going to suggest you go Michael Cypher's FBI Sniper. He's like $6. It's neutral sleeves. It'll pair in nice enough with the Omegas. There's nothing really gold or yellowy to make them pair with the Omegas on CT side. Now, T side is going to be the actual agent I use myself, which is Bloody Darrell the Strapped, who is about $33, but has this, obviously, like the mask has gold, the shirt has gold, has the gold accents plus the tattoo. So, and if you can't tell, we're going for a gold loadout here. I think I forgot to mention that. So we're going fully yellow gold themed loadout. We have a skin for every single weapon, and it's going to be fantastic. So, for example, I would go USP Jawbreaker here. You can go for a Torque, but I think the Jawbreaker looks better. It does have a yellow base with then some nice blue and pink accents on it, and it's a little bit unique. Glock-wise, I'd 100% go for a Mezzi's Reach. Minimal wear, you can grab this for under $10. I use one myself with a Godsent craft on it because it plays in really nicely. This is where the Desert Eagle has some variants. In the blue loadout, we spent a massive amount to get the Cobalt Disruption. In this case, the Conspiracy fits the theme really well, and the factory use only $9. So sometimes it is just depending on what the actual like theme fit is going to be, and if it is a super cheap option, then that's great. It gives you budget elsewhere. For the AK, I am going to go for the Inheritance here. Battle Scar, this will run you about $70. Now, you can sort of discuss it's grey, black with blue accents, but overall, I think the gold cracks coming through, the gold markings on the skin, plus then those yellow gold accents elsewhere, comes together really nicely. Then with the golden coil, this is kind of like a perfect pairing with these gloves. Now, this in minimal wear will run you $93. And just to note here, This is where you can save money to get further, or to get closer to that $750 mark, because, for example, this golden coil, you could buy it in field test, even battle scarred, and it'll still look good. Kind of the same for the coalition that I'm about to show you, spoiler. Like, this is minimal wear, it's $60, however, I have showcased this in battle scar before for how nice it looks. But you can see how good it just looks with those Omega gloves. Like, this gold theme has a lot of potential, and it's often slapped on. The one area we might have to dispute on is how much I've spent on the op. Now, obviously, I've detailed at the start that I'm not much of an opper, so when I come to build my loadouts, I don't overspend on the op. So for me, for a loadout like this, I just pick up an op duality. It's got gold accents on it. It's pretty good. Also, the gold op options are kind of few and far between. So, like, this is an example of where if you wanted to spend less maybe on the knife and glove combo, or you want to spend less on your key rifle skins because you are an opper, that's where you'd have to make some changes. But for me, I think the duality fits in really nicely for $5. Then those 3 weapons we discussed, you can kind of count as key depending on how you feel. MP9, I have a Starlight Protector, $6.50. Big fan of this skin, doesn't break the bank. I think a gold brick can be fantastic here. Now, I have gone for a field tested souvenir version, which is about $12.30. I think it's like $10 more to go to minimal wear souvenir, and that'll get rid of some of those marks you start to see on the back. So again, depends how much you want to spend here. But I do go kind of big on the P250, because you can get the Apep's Curse, another one from the Anubis collection, which is just perfect for this gold vibe. And field test it, it's $25, but this not so long ago would have been like $40 to $45, so I'm happy to suggest this now with the price drop. Then we have all of these sort of bonus filler skins, plus the extra we haven't featured previously. So we've got the Joe Berettas. I'm going to go raw consorts here, 75 cents for minimal wear. It ticks that box for us. Honestly, the 5.7 kind of lacks a little bit, so I'm going to go monkey business here. Again, $2.15 for this, but obviously with the big massive banana on it, it fits in to an extent to this yellow and gold theme. Like, for the Gale, I'm going to go for a metallic squeeze. And I've generated pattern 1 here, just an example. Factory new, $2.50. You can get it a little bit less, but I'm including some buffer there to try and get, because it's pattern based, you can get one with more silver, one with more gold, blah, blah, blah. You can hunt around and just try and get one with maximum gold or a pattern that you think is cool. FAMAS, obvious choice, is going for the commemoration for under $7, minimal wear. I know some people don't use the FAMAS, but I would recommend you do have it equipped, so I think it's worth spending here. I did reference the Justice in the previous loadout, and I mentioned that if you wanted to go minimal wear, it jumps to like $4 or so. It is $4.42 in minimal wear, but it looks sick here with these gloves. The XM doesn't have a crazy amount of options. I lean into the Arizumi here, which isn't really yellow, isn't really gold, but for the fact it's 15 cents minimal wear, and it's got really nice artwork on it, just the color's not crazy bright, I think we can make this work. Tech 9, I'm going to go fuel injector. Now, we can argue all we want about this as being more yellow than it is gold, but it's hard to argue that it doesn't absolutely slap with Omega gloves. The AUG, you also get a really nice skin here. It is going to be the Stymphalion. It's under $3 minimal wear. My only gripe is that the detailing doesn't go up to the scope like we now see with some of the newer AUGs. Once again, cheap and cheerful with the SG. It is going to be the Aerial, 17 cents minimal wear. Honestly, the hazard pay would be the go-to choice here, but it is a bit too expensive to fit into this loadout. Over on the Scout side of things, now I don't use it much myself, so I'm happy to only go field test it here and just deal with some scuffs. $8 for it, mind you, still with this. It's the big iron, so maybe if you do use the Scout a lot, saying that, you could get stickers and cover it, but I think this fits in nicely to the theme. We're going to run into one of the newer skins for the MP7, purely because the Nemesis is too expensive to fit into this loadout. Like, $6 for it just doesn't make sense. You're not going to use the MP7 much. I went Astrolabe just because, I don't know, I think the color fits in with like the base color of the Omega gloves a little bit. For the UMP, I go carbon fiber. Again, here, lack of theme options, but that's where I like having a secondary color, so in a gold and yellow sort of themed loadout. Obviously, I think black or grey is kind of like the go-to there. It just fits. It's also what's on the gloves. Then if you did want an MP5 skin, you'd go for the likes of the Kit Bash because it's got yellow accents on it, and well, the Oxide Oasis is kind of like an orangey colour, so either way, this is probably the best for this yellow accent. The Scar B-Rush gets us that really nice, premium-y, vibey gold, and it's only $2.75 in Battle Scarred, which gets the Easter eggs through off the Scarabs themselves, and some markings, which I think is sick. And then we would end it off with the CZ Syndicate in minimal wear, which is actually just under $5. It's a decent little spend for a CZ, but it does fit the theme perfectly, and this is where I think, like, see the likes of the Scout, the likes of the P90, the Syndicate, and even like the Tech 9 fuel injector. Like, I do think spending on the Tech 9 makes sense, but that's where if you're an opera and you want more money elsewhere, you can just get like really cheap base color versions for those and then put that into the op, or as I say, you could go for a cheaper knife and glove combo. Now, price-wise for this example loadout, it was almost perfect because the total cost is $1,000 and 9 cents. I'm literally 9 cents over the $1,000 budget mark. Overall though, I really like this loadout. I like that I've been able to do 4 here, and hopefully this video in general has been able to help you out. Obviously, it's all been timestamped, we've discussed it all. Hopefully now, you're going to be primed and ready to go either build your first CS loadout, and if you are, welcome on in. If you have any questions, make sure you join the Discord, that's linked down below. We have a dedicated skin section, so if you're new around here, you're building loadouts for the first time, jump in there and feel free to ask questions. Myself and the community will be happy to help you. And if it's not your first time building a CS loadout, but it's your first time sort of following a format for how to actually budget it properly, then please let me know how that goes for you. I want to see what the end result looks like. So again, Discord, or just let me know in the YouTube comments. But I am going to end it there. So I want to say a big thank you to Xerox for providing the giveaway for today. So please remember, make sure you go enter that, because if you're brand new to CS or you even don't have a loadout, he is basically giving you your first loadout, which is fantastic. And as a big thank you to the YouTube members as well for continuing to support the channel. As I say, if you are watching this on Christmas or even just during the holiday season, happy holidays. I hope you and your family are doing well. And if you're watching it down the line, I also hope you're doing well. It's just not really Christmassy vibes, is it? So with all that said, I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.